In Liam's middle school days, and for those of you who have not been with us before, Liam is my son and he's now 24. But in those good old days, the gym teacher organized what was called a 24-hour run. And it was, surprisingly, just that. For 24 hours, the kids ran. Everyone who signed up was placed on teams, and the teams ran relay style for a 24-hour period. Parents came over to the campus to help supervise, as did most of the teachers, of course. We pitched tents, and the entire track area was taken over from Friday through Saturday. It's an impressive sight to behold. The entire middle school was encouraged to participate, which means there were hundreds of children, and they were divided into these relay teams. And each child ran a mile or 4 times around the track at whatever speed he or she was capable of running. It wasn't a race, it was just endurance. And then they tagged the next member of the team in for the next mile. As I said, the teams were not small, so there was significant time off between the mile runs. And this is an event that Liam still talks about to this day. And of all of the things that he wanted to keep as memories from childhood, and really he was limited to one Tupperware container that he could fill with memories. Sealed in 3 Ziploc bags are these 3 T-shirts from the 24-hour run, each a different team color, but signed in permanent marker by everyone who was there who could fit their name on these tiny little T-shirts. This is a monumentous life event for him and for everyone who participated. Because every single youth who was there at some point or another that night hit the wall, figuratively speaking. It didn't matter that they had to train for months to build the stamina that they were going to need. And their training was recorded, of course, on the training app on their phones and verified by parents as well as others. None of that mattered. At some point in time, they were done, stick a fork in them. It was time to go home to a comfortable bed. This was a meaningless waste of time. They were running around a track. What was the point of this? Leave them alone. Drive me home in, fill in your stereotypical suburban car at this moment. And if you are not going to drive me home, I'm going to just walk and you can't stop me. Well, that's accurate. And as a mom who was there, giving up a night's sleep, sleeping in my comfortable bed, let me tell you, that hissy fit sounded about right to me. Except it's fundamentally wrong, isn't it? You see, you can't actually stop a junior high student from walking home, at least not without facing police charges. And you can't actually make a junior high student pick up his or her feet and run them around a track. That's their job. At that point in their life, at midnight or 2 a.m. or 3:30 or 4:30, that has to come from within. And it has to come from within for the rest of their lives. When there are challenges, when the wall is right there, and as a church, as individuals, we get this story, don't we? It's hard to give up that comfort. That's something that's just easy, that we like. to push through to get the blessing on the other side. You see, it's hard to give up a Sunday morning worship service to teach one Sunday a year. Because let me tell you, we do good worship in this church, don't we? And it's comfortable to sit here. It's hard. It's hard to hear that we need volunteers in various ministries. Because let me tell you, we all got lives, don't we? And it's hard to recycle my yogurt thing every time. What difference is it going to make if I just throw it in the trash can? And let me tell you, you can't make me or stop me. It has to come from somewhere within. There are ways in which our lives actually intersect these simple stories. It has to come from within. That's our job. And let me tell you the rest of the story, at least in the 24-hour run. You see, as the night continued, every single year, because once you participate, you want to come back and help. You see, the harder some folks hit the wall, the louder others began to cheer. And this is where maybe junior high had it in diamonds over some other places I've seen. To fight the exhaustion, the adrenaline and the excitement and the motivation kicked in. More junior high kids came out of their tent, and the cheering set in. And I watched members of the track team run alongside the slowest runners to coach them along. You can do it. Come on. Just keep going. You can do it. You can make it. And if they really couldn't, I watched members of the track team take over for them. I watched year after year when kids hit the wall. Louder cheers came, more encouragement came, and nobody had to struggle alone. It was this powerful event until the last lap when everybody ran together. And these kids learned this powerful thing about themselves and the human spirit. And they learned to hold on and push through in the difficult time. And they understood that they really could do difficult and challenging things. And that on the other side, there was this blessing. And let me tell you, this is a tricky lesson to instill for children of privilege. Now, the pandemic has allowed us to see some of it, and we know that. But there was a reason that the 24-hour run happened every year. Because each year the youth learned that they could do it, and each year it was interpreted in a different way in their life. They learned it as individuals. They learned they had to dig inside and find a way when what they wanted was this comfortable other way. And then they learned that there was a way to be part of a team, and they learned to be part of this community of teams. When the challenge was real, at least this challenge that was real on their level. And it's not a one and done sort of thing. It was an ongoing lesson to be processed and reprocessed. And here's Jacob for today, because he had been training not for months, but his entire life was his training ground. Encountering God in dark, difficult places is not something new to Jacob. 4 chapters earlier, we heard of this angel-filled ladder dream, where he was assured of God's presence on his journey. But that didn't really permeate, did it? And now this latest nighttime meeting, Jacob is embraced by this reality that sometimes God's messengers are going to meet us where we have to dig in and work for the blessing. Jacob liked the easy way, even if the easy way seemed to be to escape and run or deny. But this time the messenger is carrying the news that escaping or running has come to an end. Jacob hit the wall, just like that night of the 24-hour run. And it's something akin to divine insight to know that there are times when only a good struggle is going to produce the comfort we require in those wilderness moments. There are times we need to rest, and that's true. But it's equally true that there are times we need to wrestle, times we need to be stretched beyond what we think are our limits, times we have to reach deep into our reserves, through reserves we didn't realize we had. And this messenger from God, this man who wrestles, going toe to toe with Jacob in the night, is left ambiguous to us. In so being, this representation takes on both a universality and any individual particularity that the reader might want to ascribe. So what would Jacob be filled with trepidation about? Oh, Laban on one side with this uneasy relationship, and the morning light bringing Esau and 400 of his good friends to greet him 20 years after stealing the birthright and the blessing, having deceived both father and brother. And while this text is not our story, the narrative intersects ours, just like that 24-hour run. No one can struggle for us. There are struggles that are ours, and only blessings that will come with an encounter. And we have fellow travelers on the way that make the blessings more powerful. And I want to ask you on your journey to reflect on struggles that you would name that perhaps brought a wound, not necessarily literally, but also a blessing. And what has been that experience of wrestling with a situation or with God that has helped you know who you are and which way you have to go? Or better yet, which way you're really not going to go? Part of what we learn from this text is when we engage in the struggle, we understand that the past stops defining us. In fact, part of the essence of this is that blessing found in the new name. It's a reminder that who we are now and who we will be is not the same as who we were. Artist and author Jan Richardson wrote these words as if they were coming from Jacob himself to us. If this blessing were easy, anyone could claim it. As it is, I'm here to tell you that it will take some work. This is the blessing that visits you in the struggle, in the wrestling, in the striving. This is the blessing that comes after you have left everything behind, after you have stepped out, after you have crossed into that realm beyond every landmark you have known. This is the blessing that takes all night to find. It's not, this blessing is so difficult, as if it were not filled with grace or with love that lives in every line. It's simply that it requires you to want it, to ask for it, to place yourself in its path. It demands that you stand to meet it when it arrives, that you stretch yourselves in ways you didn't know you could move, that you agree not to give up. So when this blessing comes, borne in both hands of the difficult angel that has chosen you, do not let go. Give yourself into its grip. It will wound you, but I tell you, there will come a day when you felt that, there will come a day when what you felt was like limping, was something more like dancing, as you moved into the cadence of your new and blessed name. Amen.